Have you ever thought about how your vacation might affect the local community at your destination? It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it? As we embark on this journey to explore the intriguing world of travel and tourism, we'll be delving into the social impacts of tourism, an often overlooked aspect, but a significant one nonetheless. Tourism, as we all know, is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can bring about economic prosperity, creating job opportunities and stimulating local businesses. Imagine a quaint little town tucked away in the mountains suddenly becoming a popular tourist spot. The inflow of tourists could turn the town's economy around, providing a much-needed boost. But then there's the other side of the coin. The same town, as it becomes a tourist hub, might face the risk of losing its cultural identity. The unique traditions and customs, once the pride of the locals, could get diluted in the quest to cater to the diverse interests of tourists. This is where we encounter the potential cultural erosion, a common concern associated with tourism. It's a complex issue, isn't it? But fear not. Through Unit 8, we'll aim to unravel this complexity, to understand the social impacts of tourism and, importantly, how they can be managed. We'll delve into the nuances of the guest-host interaction, explore the changes in societal attitudes, and analyze how tourism can influence local cultures. We'll also discuss the Acculturation model, a fascinating concept that explores how cultures interact and influence each other. And then, we'll touch upon the role of language, photography, and staged shows in tourism, and their potential impacts on local communities. As we journey through these topics, we'll equip ourselves with the knowledge and insights to understand the social dynamics of tourism. And more importantly, to see how we, as future tourism managers, can play a part in making tourism a force for good rather than a force of erosion. Understanding the social impacts of tourism is crucial for anyone studying travel and tourism management. So let's set sail on this enlightening journey, shall we? Let us dive into the heart of tourism, the interaction between guests and hosts. It's a fascinating dance, a delicate balance of respect, understanding, and curiosity. When tourists step into a new culture, they enter as guests. The locals, the hosts, open their homes, their lives, their traditions. This interaction, this exchange, is the very essence of tourism. Now, the dynamics of these interactions can be as diverse as the people involved. At their best, they foster mutual respect and cultural understanding. The guests learn from the hosts from the guests. It's a beautiful symbiosis, a testament to the power of human connection. But let's not sugarcoat it, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes these interactions lead to conflicts, misunderstandings. They can bring out the worst in us, breed resentment, exploit vulnerabilities. Yet even in its complexity, the guest-host interaction remains a fascinating aspect of tourism. It's what makes travel an adventure, a journey of discovery. Tourism can bring about significant changes in society, but how do local communities feel about these changes? Picture this, a quaint, peaceful town suddenly transformed into a bustling tourist hotspot. The quiet streets are now filled with souvenir shops, restaurants, and a myriad of people from different corners of the world. This change, brought about by tourism, can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it provides economic benefits. Jobs are created, local businesses thrive, and the overall standard of living can improve. Many locals embrace this change, viewing tourism as a golden opportunity to showcase their culture and heritage, a chance to counter the homogenizing effects of globalization. They see tourists not as intruders, but as guests welcomed with open arms. On the other hand, there are those who view tourism with a more critical eye. They worry about the erosion of their cultural identity, the commodification of their traditions, and the strain on local resources. They see the influx of tourists as a threat to their way of life, and the changes it brings as more disruptive than beneficial. The attitudes of locals towards tourism and the changes it brings are not black and white. They are influenced by a variety of factors such as the scale and nature of the tourism development, the degree of community involvement, and the distribution of economic benefits. For instance, if the community is actively involved in planning and managing tourism, they are more likely to view it positively. Similarly, if the economic benefits are evenly distributed among locals, it can foster a more positive attitude towards tourism. However, if locals feel left out of the decision-making process, or if only a select few reap the benefits of tourism, resentment and opposition can build. This can lead to social conflict and can undermine the sustainability of tourism. In conclusion, the attitudes of local communities towards tourism and the changes it brings can greatly influence its social impacts. A positive attitude can lead to social harmony and sustainable tourism, while a negative attitude can lead to social conflict and unsustainable practices. Attitudes towards tourism can greatly influence its social impacts. Language is a powerful tool in tourism, but how does it shape the guest-host interaction? Let's dive into the fascinating world of the acculturation model and language. Acculturation is a process that happens when two cultures come into continuous first-hand contact, resulting in changes in the original cultural patterns of either or both groups. In the context of tourism, it's the process where visitors and hosts influence each other, shaping the way they communicate and understand one another. Think about it. When you travel, you're not just a spectator, you're an active participant, engaging with locals and their culture. The language you use, the words you choose, they all have a profound impact on this interaction. Language is the medium that bridges the gap between cultures. It allows us to share experiences, create bonds, and foster understanding. When a tourist learns a few words in the local language, it's a sign of respect and interest, encouraging a more positive interaction with the host community. But language can also create divides. It can highlight differences and build barriers. Imagine a tourist who doesn't make an effort to learn the local language, or worse, expects locals to speak their language. This can lead to misunderstandings and even conflicts, creating a negative guest-host interaction. Language, then, is not just a tool for communication. It's a vehicle that carries cultural nuances, values, and identities. It's a mirror that reflects the complexities of the cultural exchange happening in tourism. Understanding this, we can see how the acculturation model integrates language into its framework. It recognizes how language shapes the guest-host interaction and how it can either foster understanding or create divides. As a tourist, the language you choose to use can either bridge or widen the cultural gap between you and your host. So when we talk about the social impacts of tourism, we cannot overlook the role of language. It's not just about the words we say, but how we say them, and the cultural weight they carry. Language plays a pivotal role in the social impacts of tourism. Tourism often involves capturing memories, but what are the implications of this? Let's take a moment to consider the impacts of photography and stage shows on local communities. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but every snap taken by a tourist can tell a story that goes beyond the frame. Photography, in the context of tourism, can sometimes lead to cultural commodification. The desire to capture the exotic or authentic can push local communities to stage their culture and traditions. These staged shows, while providing a snapshot of the local culture, can sometimes lean towards stereotypes, leading to an oversimplified representation of the community's rich cultural heritage. The impact of this cultural commodification can be twofold. On one hand, it can lead to a loss of cultural identity, as traditions are altered to cater to tourists' expectations. On the other hand, it can also lead to an economic boost for these communities as they profit from showcasing their culture. However, the story doesn't end there. The commodification of culture can lead to what sociologists call cultural erosion. This happens when the original cultural practices are gradually replaced by the staged versions, leading to a loss of cultural authenticity. But it's not all doom and gloom. With responsible tourism, photography and staged shows can play a positive role. They can help in preserving and promoting cultural heritage. By respecting local traditions and being mindful of their impact, tourists can contribute to a more sustainable and respectful form of tourism. In the digital age, where images are shared instantly across the globe, the influence of tourism photography and staged shows is more significant than ever. They shape how we perceive different cultures and places, influencing our attitudes and expectations. So the next time you're clicking a photo or watching a cultural show, remember, you're not just a passive observer. You're part of a complex process that has both positive and negative impacts on local communities. Photography and staged shows are more than just tourist activities. They can have profound social impacts. So, let's strive to be responsible tourists, preserving and respecting the cultures we come to experience. Let us bring together all the pieces of the puzzle. We've journeyed through the fascinating world of tourism's social impacts, starting from the intriguing dynamics of guest-host interactions. We've seen how these interactions not only shape attitudes, but also bring about profound changes in society. We delved into the acculturation model, understanding how it beautifully encapsulates the cultural exchanges and transformations that tourism ignites. The role of language, a significant catalyst in this process, cannot be overstated. We also explored the intriguing aspects of photography and staged shows, shedding light on their impacts, both positive and negative. These elements often serve as a double-edged sword, at once preserving and distorting cultural heritage. In essence, the social impacts of tourism are multifaceted and complex. They require thoughtful management to balance the benefits and challenges they present. Remember, understanding the social impacts of tourism is key to managing them effectively.